I was a fan back in the day. I was a child at the time. See, I'm old, but I'm not that old. I'm in my 40s, up my 50s and 60s. I always tell this to all my butt rocker friends. But yeah. Before we get to anything, I just gotta bring this all up because I can.
You never hit a mentally ill person with his dead mother's severed leg. It's a real trigger.
Then trigger warning, bitch.
Like, comment, and subscribe if you want to see more. Well, I ran out of stuff to watch that you on the internet care about. My favorite app to watch is Tubi, which is free, and who cares? Yes, it is basically the basic cable of fucking streaming services. It has commercials, but unlike other streaming services that have commercials that are free, at least limited in ads, and they are quieter than the content, so you don't have to fuck with their volume. But whatever. Tubi has some quality stuff, as you saw in my video about Hunter S. Thompson. It's epic.
I'm not at all embarrassed at the use of the word freak.
And I got inspired. The Chris Holmes one, I can make a goddamn drinking game out of it. I mean, seriously. I know so many people on there. I mean, they has my buddies Joe Sutton and Jungle Jimmy, even Rob Chevelle, who I love to troll on the internet. Oh, speaking of trolling on the internet, I don't care if you're left wing or right wing. If you're tagging a bunch of people just to spit out something you just found out on Facebook,
go fuck yourself.
I say this mainly because Rob Chevelle from Lit Soul, during the pandemic, became such a Trumper. He would just find some conspiracy theory shit he found, tag people in it, and go,
yeah, man, it's fake, it's hoax, it's the pandemic, it's a scamdemic. And now
I have a friend named Max Hesh who basically does the same thing, but with left-wing liberal douchebaggery.
Well, duh.
And that's what I'm going to talk about before I get into my huge mega review of the Max Headroom franchise, because Max Headroom's awesome. Yeah, this is going to be a random intro of nothingness, but whatever. The Max Headroom franchise.
And what you're about to witness is one of the most sinister sounding intros to a trailer to one of the greatest epics ever produced in the history of television.
Yes, this video is on the Max motherfucking Headroom franchise. Not just the show, because there's 3 different shows. Not just the character. Max Headroom is a British artificial intelligence character known for his wit, stuttering, and pitch-shifting voice.
This is Max Headroom.
He was introduced in early 1985. Created by George Stone, Annabel Jankel, and Rocky Morton.
Of course, he could write for all sorts of voices. Sopranos, altos, you name it.
Max was portrayed by Matt Frewer and was called the first computer-generated TV presenter.
People still think that it was a computer-generated character, and that I was voicing it, when in actual fact it was all this makeup.
oh, look.
Sorry, no parts for Rubberman today.
The background story provided for Max Headroom's character is in his original appearance was rooted in a dystopian near future dominated by television and large corporations.
I wonder if you could find time to illustrate to the board here this little hitch we have on your blipverts.
Put simply, the human body has millions of nerve endings. Each carries an electrical charge, individually very tiny, but in combination surprisingly large. Normally people burn it off, but in inactive people it just builds up. Now, because I designed blipverts to compress 30 seconds of advertising information into 3 seconds, it appears the brain violently stimulates these nerve endings simultaneously. In some subjects it causes a short circuit. Some particularly slothful, perpetual viewers literally explode. Simple as that.
The AI of Max Headroom was shown to have been created from the memories of a crusading journalist, Edison Carter.
This is Edison Carter, coming to you very much live and direct on Network 23.
Carter's the best-known reporter we have on the air. He satellites globally.
The character's name came from the last thing Carter saw during a vehicular accident that put him into a coma.
People translate it as data.
It's computer generated, whatever it is.
It looks like Edison.
Max Headroom. Max?
He's a computer generated person based on you.
2 lines.
seasons, but with one single memory.
First, there was the Max Headroom show, which you've heard what Mojo Cop said on that one. Max Headroom originally appeared in the cyberpunk TV movie 20 minutes into the feature, which consisted of material originally planned to be broken into 5-minute backstory segments. Edison Carr is trying to get the big scoop on Blipverse.
What I want to know is, who is suppressing the story? What is it somebody doesn't want us to know?
For the British music video program, Max Headroom show, which premiered 2 days later. And dude, talk about the weirdest fucking music videos. They got some rare gems to the point where it's like,
What the fuck is this?
Most people only eat revolting things to break a record. This lot did it to make a record. Rats on a budget.
Eat and serve.
Commercials make it sound so good. We buy more and more if the slogans are cool. Though it might not taste the way they say it should. You deserve a test today. It tastes better, have it your way. Our sandwiches, they only cost a dime. And we said no pest before it's time.
The show was an immediate hit in the UK. It was Beavis and Butthead reaction stuff before Beavis and Butthead.
Why is he shutting his ears?
The second and third series were shown first on Cinemax and Channel 4 6 months later.
And afterwards, that is directly following, I want to talk to you about something even bigger.
A Christmas special was then produced at the end of the second season.
Merry Christmas.
This dude stutters.
Cinemax produced a fourth series, original Talking Max Headroom show, which ran for 6 episodes in 1987. It was Space Ghost Coast to Coast before Space Ghost Coast to Coast was a thing, but in reverse.
Did you see that dog?
Yeah.
That dog was great.
He was good.
How do you suppose they got... Oh, hi everyone. I'm Space Ghost.
I remember watching the finale, the final episode, when I was a kid, because what I did was, back when I was like, a child, I wanted to record Labyrinth.
You remind me of the babe. Babe with the power. Power of voodoo. You do. Remind me of the babe.
Yes, that Labyrinth. And we programmed the VCR, but it recorded the end of Goonies, all of Labyrinth, and of course, like, the Max Headroom show's finale. So I got to watch that over and over again. I always had, every time I'd have to fast forward to the end of Goonies and then to watch Labyrinth. And then if I let it play, then it would be the Max Talking Headroom show. And it was funny too, because we had William Shatner and Grace Jones. Final spin-offs from the original film was a dramatic television series, Max Headroom. I remember watching it as a kid because it would air after my bedtime, so I felt a little rebellious. Before I continue, let's bring on today's sponsor. No thanks to you. Yep, no thanks to you. We don't get any fucking hype, anything that really matters. And how appropriate that I am the psycho advocate.
I mean, come on! From 1987 to May of 1988, producer Peter Wagg brought the show to the US. Technically lasted for 2 seasons, even though there were only 14 total episodes. Hard to blame the creators of the show, though. They were up against CBS's juggernaut Dallas and NBC's Miami Vice.
The extreme always seems to make an impression.
You watch the first episode of Max Headroom, season 1, and you watch the pilot, 20 minutes in the future. It's basically the same fucking story, same movie, same everything, but with a different cast, minus Matthew Frewer and the chick who plays Theora.
Peter insisted that he get to keep Matt Frewer as Max, Amanda Pays as Theora, Morgan Shepard as the character Blank Reg, and his key writers who handled Max's dialogue. Annabel, Rocky, and George, the 3 writers who had created Max, were not included.
And is also Christopher Young's first role, as well as Jeffrey Tambor's.
Great. If you see me, give me a wave. I love to see style. I also enjoy a good laugh.
And instead of Mr. Grossman, it's Mr. Grossberg, which I find funny because that's my mom's maiden name. The second episode, entitled Rakers, is a commentary on violence in the media to the point where they show the rise of underground extreme sports making profit on it and violent children's toys with a character called Missile Mike. And it kind of reminded me a little bit of the fictional character they had in American Flag. And of course, the RoboCop TV series borrowed that with, Next episode after that called Body Banks, and all I gotta say about that is think Repo the Genetic Opera or Repo Men.
Can't pay for your house. The bank takes it back. Can't pay for your liver. Well, that's where I come in.
The fourth episode entitled Security Systems. And yes, ahead of its time. Yes, relevant to today. In fact, the only thing that makes it dated is that they use landline phones and floppy disks. But other than that, yeah, very relevant to today.
Why have you penetrated my system?
I'll be honest. I need something from you.
Will it go any further?
Madam, we've only just met.
It's been almost 3,000 milliseconds.
You know me. Straight to the heart. Well, I almost tripped over a little artery on the way.
Fifth episode entitled War is about a terrorist group called the White Brigade who claim responsibility for a series of live televised bombings. So just how wars are bought and sold. And did I mention this is before cable news? Come on! CNN was kind of like slowly creeping up his head, and this is before Fox News.
And of course, everywhere in the world to them is just a theater of operations, except when they're fighting in it. And then it's a theater of war.
Then the season 1 finale entitled The Blanks is about basically off-the-grid people. And my favorite character from the series in Blank Reg gets a bigger role, if you catch my drift.
Music of the angels, brandy of the damned. Punks of the world you not want, look, give it a bit of the welly. Hey! Ah!
It reminds me a little bit of CB4 when they show the hip-hop retirement home. Well, this one's an old punk rocker played by an old man.
Welcome to big time television. All day and every day, making tomorrow seem like yesterday.
Blank Reg is basically Captain Anarchy. Then there's season 2, and it deals with eugenics, and we learn more about the Bryce character and a lot of sci-fi religions, if you catch my drift, involving resurrection and shit like that.
Come on! The temple is so obviously the Los Angeles Natural History Museum.
And since I am a resident of Southern California, I've been to that museum since I was a child. It's more obvious than even that Workaholics episode where they go to the Rancho Cucamonga Natural History Museum.
Shut up and get to the point!
Grossberg makes a big return and basically the main villain.
I will destroy you and your network.
You and I are at war.
Rocket, the guy who plays Grossberg, goes full over the top. He's an awesome villain. It sucks that he passed away, but mad props to him.
And this episode just totally ends in a full and out network brawl between Channel 66 and Network 23. All I have to say is think Ron Burgundy, you know what part I'm talking about. Then the next episode, entitled Dream Thieves, Carter again gets all emotional and takes things personal. And, well, you gotta see it for yourself. I mean, it kind of like predicted VR in a way and shows you the downsides of VR. You know, like, I know it borrows a lot from William Gibson and shit, but yeah, just watch it. Then there's the episode everybody remembers, Whack-Its. And oh my god, it is as epic as I say it is. Fucking Bill Maher's in it. Yes, Bill fucking Maher is in it. Yes, I put him on a pedestal, but come on, he's a liberal who hates the woke. What? If you can only watch one episode of Max fucking Headroom, it is this episode. Fucking Whack-Its is whack-a-doodle awesome. Oh yeah! It shows you that trash TV is so addictive, it's relevant to today. I mean, this episode has everything you want in a Max Headroom episode. There's nothing else better than this episode. So yeah, watch this one. The next episode, entitled Neurostem, deals with more VR, well, very relevant to today, but has not aged well because we learn more about Zigzag, their primary sponsor, which is a Japanese company, and they are all Japanese stereotypes. I don't mind it. I find it funny, but I know about you won't find it offensive.
Nag, 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 nag. Zigzag hold a fucking Disney.
And finally, the finale, or the episode 8, or the final episode, deals with censorship. And that's all I gotta say on that one. I mean, what else is there to say? Deals with censorship. And of course, in this dystopian world, they over-exaggerate it to the point where people or children, blanks, unregistered, unscannable, poor people have to, get bootleg tapes to learn. So things like Sesame Street is considered illegal. And it's just way over the top.
I mean, look at this. Look at it! A world built
on Fence.
I like to think that it's in the same universe, if not a prequel to Hardware. Do you remember Hardware? That horror sci-fi story that was a ripoff of a 2000 AD story, directed by the guy who did Island of Dr. Moreau and Color Out of Space.
And here's how it works.
All in all, the show is more ahead of its time than I thought. It inspired, well, a lot of cyberpunk. Yes, this was post-Judge Dredd, post-2000 AD, and post-American Flag, and of course Mad Max, and Blade Runner, and Gibson, and Philip K. Dick. But this show inspired, obviously, Transmetropolitan, and that's pretty much it. Here's the ending credits, and of course, Mojo Cop with some extra details that, you didn't know. Peace out. Max Headroom became a celebrity in other media. The Art of Noise song Paranoia.
Am I dreaming?
No.
Where am I? In bed? What am I doing? Talking to myself.
And advertisement campaigns.
Catch the wave. Coke.
On a broadcasting signal hijacking of the two television stations in Chicago, Illinois was carried out on November 22nd, 1987.
Residents of Chicago were sitting down to watch the local news on WGN-TV when a report about the Chicago Bears was suddenly interrupted by a mysterious video. The video had no audio and only depicted a man in a Max Headroom mask. After the interruption stopped, the anchor, Dan Roan, had this to say.
Well, if you're wondering what's happened, so am I.
Culprits were never caught or identified. I'd go into detail, but I'm just basically trolling all of you anyway. So, whatever. I'd say special thanks to the people, but I gotta go on Sub Pals and YT Pals just to try to get 100 views on here because the algorithm could suck. Coming soon. Oh, I'm doing a deep, insane, deep dive into the entire lore of Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy. Because if you didn't know this, back in 2012, I tried to start a disaster area tribute band.
The Hitchhiker's Guide to the Galaxy notes that a disaster area, a plutonian rock band, the Galactica mine zones, is generally held to be not only the loudest rock band in the galaxy, but in fact the loudest noise of any kind at all. Oh yeah!
Well, I almost have a full collection of Star Wars Legacy, from Dark Horse Comics, when Star Wars comics were good. And my favorite character, Cade Skywalker. I even got the heart, I just need 2 more to add to my collection, and I'll have the whole set to do my review on. I'll do it by individual, trade book. I also got the Predator Omnibus by Dark Horse Comics, because fuck Disney, fuck Marvel. That lore is badass. They actually gave the lore to Predator, in Dark Horse Comics. I also got Axe Cop and a bunch of other things, so stay tuned on that shit.
Plus the fucking message is bomb.com.
Chaos is a ladder. Shout out to our patrons, in order of importance, the Shadow Vessel, the Fly Attractor, Janitor Jake, Count Morivond, Gary Mossberg, and of course Ryan Zacher. If you have any opinions on what I'm saying, like and comment. Just say some shit in the comments. I need more hate mail anyway, because apparently the only way I actually get views is when I piss people off, because this algorithm, as the last real generation Xer, because millennials are bitches and Zoomers are fags. Or is it the other way around? Yeah, they're both the same thing to me.